welcome everybody to the Health Accelerator Challenges. This is your host of the afternoon, Cade Archibald, and I'm joined by the one and only Regan Archibald. Regan, how's it going?
It's going awesome. Yeah, really well.
Yeah, it's been an awesome, productive day here at East West Health, and we're excited to bring you your guys' challenge for the week.
Yes. And so today what we're going to be talking about is we're going on the flow. You know, we've asked everyone get your blood labs ran, make sure that there's no death by neglect. And today we're going to talk about this concept, the next 10 years, your best 10 years. And we're going to bring in the 9 hallmarks of aging. Now, I just spoke to one of you and it was so good meeting with you because you made such good improvements. I mean, we just did a lab review with one of our members, Cade, and from the beginning, when we started about a year and a half ago to where he is now, he's probably made, we didn't have the exact numbers, but over a 40% improvement in all of his blood markers. And then his true age test, he's now testing about 6 years younger than he was biologically than 18 months ago. And then we had our other member who's she shared with us a couple of weeks ago, and that was Sally, that she's reversed her age by 12 years in just about 8 months. And that was doing peptides and stem cells, and just it's really exciting to see all of the things that are happening. But I wanted to talk today about this concept called the hallmarks of aging. And we've touched on this before, but we're going to go a little deeper. And so, Cade, do you remember the hallmarks of aging? It's been about a year since I've talked about it.
Yeah, and I remember going over them. Do I know exactly what they are? I'm assuming they're kind of all listed out here in front of us, but that's about as close as I can think. So, yeah.
You answered correct. It is right in front of you with the
perfect
hallmarks. Yes. So, and what we'll do is today we're going to do an overview, and then each week we're going to take a deep dive into this. And one of the tests that I mentioned last week was a test called Gallery. And, we have this concept, no death by neglect. Thank you, Diane. She's on today, but thank you, Diane, for that terminology, because it's so important when we think about what could take us out really quick. Now, the same patient who had the massive reversal in his blood labs, he also just got done heliskiing 7 years, and for 7 days in a row. Sorry, he got done heliskiing, and I mean, it's impressive because he's almost 70. You know who he is, Cade. But
yeah, that's incredible. That's awesome. I got to talk to him about that.
Yeah, so he wants us to go with him next time. And I'm like, 7 days? Like, I remember when you and I went, and if we have a powder board would have made it 10 times better. Cade and I were like just rednecks from Utah, and we're like, we don't need your big powder board. We didn't even realize they existed. And we had our fancy like freestyle boards, and we just got used.
Yes, we did. Yeah, especially in the wet Canada snow. That was brutal. A full day of that, and we were spent.
Yeah, can you imagine 7 days?
Yeah, that's impressive.
He did 100 and something thousand a vert, like 109,000 in vert. His son did over 150,000 in vert. The person who had the most vertical feet on the heliskiing with the heliskiing company is 26 million.
Oh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Vertical feet.
Yep.
Ooh, that's amazing.
So amazing. But as we look at that and we say, well, how many of you? I mean, we may not have as ambitious goals as this particular client, but how many of you have big goals for the future? And you're worried about that death by neglect, where you don't take care of your body enough, and then you end up having diseases that show up prematurely. And that's where we can have a cardiovascular event. We can do something silly like drive distracted or drive drunk or whatever. But beyond that, there's these 9 hallmarks of aging. And what researchers have really struggled with is this idea of why does the body age and what can we do to reverse it? And there's a Nobel Prize winner back in the 70s, and his name was Leonard Hayflick. And what he realized is we have this Hayflick limit where our cells will only repopulate a certain amount of times, and then we go into this state of stem cell exhaustion. And stem cell exhaustion is one of these 9 hallmarks. The other thing that he realized is that each cell would have about 40 or 50 passages, and then when the stem cells when the cells became what's called senescent, then those senescent cells sent a signal to all the other cells that, hey, this organism's dying, and so there's no need for you to have really healthy expression. And so it changes the entire landscape. And so there's billions of dollars every year that are going into these senolytic drugs, is what they're called. But what we've discovered is there's these bioregulator peptides that I've been sharing pretty exhaustive knowledge on it in our peptide masterclass. So if you'd like to jump into the masterclass, make sure that you get signed up for that. And I guess, Cade, where's the best place they can get signed up? Is that just the website or?
Yeah, if you go to AccuEastWest.com/peptide-masterclass, or you can just put a space in between it, but AccuEastWest.com/peptide-masterclass. That's going to take you right to the registration page. You get a 30-day trial, no cost. It's awesome content. Just amazing stuff that Regan and our colleague Dan Kellums have put together on just really cool stuff. But the bioregulators, it's like a game changer, Regan.
Yeah, it's been really exciting because with the bioregulators, this is how you can support the cellular growth, because these bioregulators, they turn off the DNA that are not healthy and they turn on the DNA that are healthy. And so there's bioregulators that we can use for your kidneys. There's bioregulators for the heart. There's a bioregulator called Panilion, and that one actually has been shown to help extend life, and it reverses the stem cell exhaustion. These bioregulators also help with altered intracellular communication, which is another one of the 9 hallmarks of aging. So that's one of the beautiful things they do is when you turn on the proper genetic expression, then all of your cells can start multiplying in a very healthy way. So what are some of the things that you can do on a day-to-day basis? Well, one of the things you can do to trigger better stem cell proliferation and stem cell health is fasting. And this is where we're big believers in time restricted eating. So limit your window of eating to at least 12 hours a day, but ideally even more like 14 is going to give you a little better growth of stem cells. And then the other thing you can do is maybe once a week do like your protein fast. And that not only helps with your stem cells, but it also helps with this thing called protein synthesis, because as you can see, one of the other hallmarks of aging is loss of proteostasis. And proteostasis means the protein synthesis, which allows us, it's all the building blocks in your muscles are protein. Because, Cade, we can store fat in our bodies. We can store carbohydrates, and sugar, and that's glycogen storage in our liver and elsewhere. But our bodies don't store protein. Protein gets stored as slabs of muscle. Cade received the nickname the Slab Man. What did he? You're a slab of a man, is what Cade and I went to a mystery room, and the host there, I think he had a little crush on you, Cade.
It was pretty funny. He had a nice British accent. He's like, "You're one slab of a man. You don't skip leg day."
Yeah, Cade's got big old legs. You only see his upper body for those of you see him virtually, but yeah, that was hilarious. But it's the protein, we store it in muscle, and as we age, we lose the ability to denature proteins, and that causes us this loss of proteostasis, and that's where you see this disease called sarcopenia kick in. And that's where the peptide sarcotropin IPA is so important for that. And now there's another peptide called Ventorf, and that works on the blood vessels for a reversal of proteostasis. The other hallmark of aging, and I'll just kind of go through each one of these. Once again, today's the overview, and then expect a deep dive for the next 9 weeks, because ideally what we want to do is true age is one of the tests that we're using. And many of you heard the interview I did with Ryan Smith recently. We've done several with him, but the one recently actually helped solidify the importance of that test for really predicting how quickly you're aging. But I'd like to see everybody in this next session, is to get your age, your biological age tested, and use True Age to do it. You can also run it through phenotypic aging with your blood labs as well. That's another way of doing it. But so these 9 hallmarks of aging is, number one, loss of proteostasis, and so that's where you don't get the protein synthesis. And remember, proteins are folded. They're basically the energetic resonance in your body. We think of proteins as being like these static kind of building blocks, that they're just kind of hunks of mass, but they're actually very energetic. They're some of the most energetic substances in nature. And the way that the proteins are folded, that creates a different DNA expression. And that's why peptides are so powerful, is because all they're doing is they're sending a signal, like sending a text message to the right number. And number 2 is epigenetic alterations. And so we've talked a lot about the epigenome, but epigenetic alterations is when you have biotoxic exposures like mold or exposures from infection. I met with another patient today, and we realized that he's going to have to get all of his root canals worked on because he has this leaking infection that's not going away. And so he's working with our biological dentist, Dr. Peterson, who's also, if you're on here, Dr. Peterson, we appreciate you. He's one of our members here, but that's a big deal, because those infections alter your DNA and they don't create as good of an expression. There's also the chemical exposures that we have. There's exposures to chronic stress that alters our DNA. The third thing is telomere attrition. So, Cade, telomere attrition, what comes to mind when you hear this as one of the hallmarks of aging?
Yeah, so my understanding, your telomeres are the strands of DNA, and so as they unravel or start to die off, or you have attrition, is your telomere lengths or your DNA strands are starting to shorten, and they're just not as tight. Like I think about it as shoelaces, and you can have them nice and tight, and they fit well. When they're all loosey-goosey and start loosening up, you start getting sloppy.
That's it. Yep.
Is that a good analogy?
That's a perfect analogy. The shoe falls off and you trip and it's game over. So yeah, the telomeres are really important. And one of my favorite peptides is epitalin, because what epitalin does is it lengthens those telomeres, and you can see it in the studies. It's pretty phenomenal. And it's been studied for 45 years. So it's got some track
Really
record.
study.
Genomic instability. And so this is very similar, telomere attrition, and there, yes, the 9 hallmarks of aging. There is, people have criticized pieces of it, saying telomere attrition and genomic instability are very similar, but actually this genomic instability is really critical, because it happens when we're not fully cleaning out our DNA, when we don't have the right methylation and detoxification patterns. Then you start getting these missed signals to the DNA, and it becomes unstable. The cell does not know what message to send out. And if you think about how many people have hormone dysregulation, and especially kids who are going through puberty earlier, I heard a very disturbing statistic, which is like the average female now, I think it's age of 9 is not uncommon for them to start their period. So it's like 4 years earlier than what it's been historically. And a lot of it is from the genomic instability, where we're exposed to all these plastics and endocrine disruptors. So there's chemicals in the environment that trigger this mimicking of the hormonal process. So that's number 4. Number 5 is cellular senescence. And we talked about this earlier when, with the Hayflick limit, we start throwing off the cells. And once you get to a certain amount of cellular turnover, they go into a complete exhaustion, and that cell becomes a zombie cell and impacts everything else. Mitochondrial dysfunction is number 6. And mitochondrial dysfunction, we did an entire weekend on mitochondrial health at Go Wellness, and we're going to be covering these 9 hallmarks of aging again in session 2 for all of you who are in our Go Wellness community. That's May 5th and May 6th here in Salt Lake. But mitochondria, the big risk that you have is if you think of mitochondria, they're these little nanomotors, and the amount of mitochondria you have in your cardiac cells is upwards of 100,000, and then you think of mitochondria in other cells, it may be just a few hundred, but the mitochondria is the energy center of the cell, and it's constantly influencing your immune system. So one of the things that came out of 2019 was this research where a French researcher discovered that there's an immune response that happens before the white blood cells get triggered, and it's not talked about as much as I think it should, but it's called the cell danger response. And so the cell danger response, there's 3 levels to it, and that's when something comes into your system and it triggers a cell danger response. So it could be the same chemicals that are causing genomic instability or epigenetic alterations. But then our body gets stuck in this stress fight or flight response. And so once you remove those interferences, then the mitochondria can actually start turning on. And this is where we see people like the patient I mentioned before, who's skiing 110,000 vertical feet in 7 days at nearly the age of 70. It's like, well, he's been able to supercharge his mitochondria, and he's loved the treatments he's done. So the next one, number 7, is deregulated nutrient sensing. And this is where I don't know if you've noticed, Cade, but I know you had on your in-law side, you had Sarah's grandparents were in a nursing home, but did you see the kind of food they were eating there?
I didn't, but I can only imagine what it looks like.
It makes school lunches look gourmet.
Yeah.
And most of, from what I've seen, I know there's some that are better than others, but a lot of times, as we get older, one of the things that happens as we age is we don't get nutrients to the right place, and we lose our craving for food. And so sometimes, when food tastes really good, yes, minus the, fat and sugar and excess salt. But when you just notice, like you bite into like a really fresh apple, or you're eating some leafy greens, or you've got your broccoli and you're like, this sour, I really like the sour flavor. It's because you're satisfying this nutritional need, but the sensing starts going away as we age, and loss of smell and loss of taste are 2 big predictors of Alzheimer's. And there's even diagnostic tests you can do now with sense of smell that is probably one of the most predictive ways of seeing if you've got Alzheimer's. So now everybody's going to be smelling and saying, do I smell okay? But how's your sense of smell there?
My sense of smell is pretty ripe, if you know what I'm saying.
Good. Well, thanks, Kate. Yeah.
Been working hard today.
Yeah, Kate will let you test out your olfactory on his armpits. It's
Come on over.
Yes, we already have Tucker doing the breath test, so now you can do the scent test. Yeah, Tucker was on one of our videos, and I was teasing him about doing the breath test as people come in, so we can see if they've got SIBO or any other diseases.
How's your breath smell? Oh, yep, we got problems.
You're going to need the double treatment today. But the deregulated nutrient sensing is actually a really important one. And this is why we run the functional blood chemistry panel, is so that we can make sure that we're looking at the nuances. And we get unreasonably focused on those because we want you to have unreasonable health. So if you want to make the next 10 years your best 10 years, getting rid of this thread is a key one. So number 8 is stem cell exhaustion. We've talked about that. And with perinatal tissue allografts, there's some pretty amazing things therapies that you can deploy to turn the system back on. There's certain peptides like thymosin beta-4. I take thymosin beta-4 frag chronically. I mean, I take it all the time because of the recovery that I get. Even after doing the MRF, like today, I would typically be sore. I was sore for 2 days, but that was a beast of a workout. And Cade now is my partner on our workout app, which lets us know when we finish workouts. What's that?
It's fun, isn't it? You get to see when someone finishes a workout and give them a little cheer.
I know we need to get the whole hack community on that. That'd be pretty darn cool.
Get your Apple Watch. Invite me on a fitness challenge if you guys want to. You can email me for my contact.
Yes, and don't forget, for those of you who want to participate in the Murphy, Tristan, he started this challenge with me, and then we've just spread it around. Cade's going to do it. Tucker's doing it. I know there's several people in the office, but on Memorial Day, the Murphy workout is you run a mile, you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, and then run another mile with the weighted vest on. So otherwise, it's a pretty simple workout.
Pretty simple, but you know, depending on where you're at in your own health journey, we can modify it. So make sure if you're in a program, talk to Tristan. If you're not in a program, talk to us, and we'll help you out there as well.
Yep, and everyone who completes it is getting our Fitness 50 shirt, and then we have the Fitness 25 at the age 50 tool, and we'll be talking about that in the loss of proteostasis next week, and then. But stem cells, back to the point, is thymosin beta-4 actually helps you recover from workouts and replenishes your stem cells. And then I do IVs, the perinatal allografts, and there's a lot of great things. Talk to Amy about stem cell exhaustion. She's a genius at it. She's been really impressive there. And then the final one, number 9, is altered intracellular communication. And once again, this is where peptides, I say, most people have really good hardware, but it's the software that gets outdated with aging. It's kind of like your computer when you don't revamp it. And that's where stem cell or peptides come in, and peptides just reboot that software and upgrade your whole system. So that's why I love the peptides. We've had so much great feedback, and I really appreciate all of you for being part of the community and for taking care of your health. Because as we go through these, the big goal today and your challenge is, which one of these hallmarks of aging are you most fascinated with? Where do you feel like your body needs the most support? And let's put our energy there, but we'll be going through these in the next 9 weeks. And next week, we're going to start with loss of proteostasis and introduce our brand new tool, the Fitness 25 at age 50 or age 20, Fitness 25 at age 50 tool. And then the other thing we're going to challenge you guys to do throughout this process is get your true age test now. And then we'll do it again in 3 to 6 months from now and see if some of the tools that we're sharing make a big difference. So there you have it. All right, Cade.
Yeah. Reach out to the office if you want to get the true age test. I think that's a really good way to kind of create a benchmark. If you haven't done that test, obviously, if you've already done it, great. It's one of these newer ones that we're starting to implement. So come reach out to the office, 801-582-2011. Thank you guys so much. Awesome work, Regan. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. See you, everybody.